Hello, happy Friday the 13th. So I thought, why don't I rank the Friday the 13th movies? So yeah, there's 12 movies here, and so I am including the remake, and I'm also including the Freddy versus Jason. And this ranking is just my opinion. So, and I like all these films. I know there's some people who think there's a few like bad ones. I don't think there's any bad ones personally. There's some weaker ones, but not ones that are bad that I think are bad. So at number 12, this is my least favourite. Number 12, Jason X. It's a good film. It's not a great film, but I think it's a good film. It's fun. I do like this film, but I don't love it. Where Jason becomes becomes a cyborg. So yeah, Jason goes to space. But it's a fun movie. It's a fun little sci-fi horror, but it is my least favourite. I do think it is the weakest of the franchise, but it's a fun movie nonetheless. It's one of those films I would say it's so bad it's good. So number 12, Jason X. Number 11 is the remake. I like the remake actually. I mean, I wouldn't say that I loved it, but I like it. I probably have the same opinion on this as I do on Jason X. I'll probably say it's so bad it's good, but I actually do like this just a bit better than Jason X. One thing I like about it doesn't try and copy the original one. It does something different. Like, because rather than being just a remake of just the first film, it kind of has like it kind of rehashes stuff from the first 4 films. But yeah, it's a pretty good film. It's not great, but I do think it's pretty good. I do like this one quite a bit. And now we're into the top 10. All the ones from here on I love. So this is where it got difficult. Ooh. Don't want to do that. Number 10, Jason Goes to Hell. The final Friday, although of course it wasn't the final Friday, of course. Released in 1993. Of course, need some date. The remake was 2009. Jason X 2002. So yeah, this was 1993. I think this is a great film. I think this is a really underrated film. I know there's a lot of people who, well, I think at the time this came out, fans and critics hated it, but I think it's now gained a bit of a cult following. I love this. Especially Stephen Williams. He plays the character of Creighton Duke, who I think he's a fantastic character. And I think there were actually plans to make a Creighton Duke spin-off film that would take place after this, even though he apparently died at the end of this film. Jason, he broke his spine, but apparently the character is still alive because they were going to do a spin-off, but he would be in a wheelchair. But it would have been good to see a spin-off of Creighton Duke, such a fantastic badass character. But yeah, I like this. I love this film. And number 9. The first 8 films I actually have on this box set here, so I'm going to be showing the individual discs. So number 9 is Jason Takes Manhattan from 1989. This is part 8 of the franchise. I love this one. I enjoy this one a lot more than most Friday the 13th fans do. I know a lot of Friday the 13th fans really hate on this one, but I enjoy this one a lot. So yeah, even though it's called Jason Takes Manhattan, he doesn't actually arrive in Manhattan until like the last, like about the last half hour of the film. The film mainly takes place on the boat that ends up that goes to Manhattan. But yeah, a great film. I love it. I personally don't think it deserves all the hate it gets. So that's number 9. Number 8 is the fantastic Freddy vs. Jason. It's from 2003. So this is a crossover with the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. So yeah, it's good to see Freddy and Jason. And yeah, just like this is the only crossover, well, the only slasher crossover film that we really got. I really want to see more. I want to see a Chucky. I want to see like a Chucky versus Annabelle, or Annabelle's not a slasher, but she's a doll though. I don't know. I want to see Chucky go up against somebody, or Michael Myers versus Jason. Michael Myers versus Leatherface. Yeah, it's a shame we never got any more of those slasher crossovers. But yeah, this is fantastic. It's a little bit cheesy, but it's but in a good way. It's just a fantastic slasher film. A lot of action in here. Good cast as well. You got Jason Ritter in this film as well, who is John Ritter's son. And yeah, I do like John Ritter as an actor. And yeah, his son is also a good actor as well. So yeah, he's the main hero of the film. Yeah, it's a shame we never got a sequel to this. I would have loved to have seen a sequel to Freddy vs. Jason. Who knows, maybe it could still happen. Although, I don't know if Robert Englund would play Freddy Krueger again, but I'd love to see him play Freddy just one more time. So yeah, so that's my number 8. Most people probably have this higher, but it made the top 10, so you can't really complain. Now we're probably getting into the top Friday the 13th films, in my opinion, like the ones that I can't live without. So number 7, I know some people would definitely, or you'll probably have this higher. I don't want to upset any fans, this is just my opinion, but number 7 is the original Friday the 13th. It's from 1980. So this is 43 years old this year. And yeah, this was a groundbreaking slasher film. Of course, this doesn't have... Jason, of course, is not the killer in this one. It's his mother, Pamela Voorhees, who's the killer in this one. But yeah, she's just fantastic. But yeah, but the reason it's ranked at number 7 is because I actually do prefer the sequels just a bit more than this, but I still love this. I'm not denying that this film had an impact. Because when this came out, like, there was loads of slasher films being made from here on, so yeah, that's number 7. Number 6 is Friday the 13th Part 3 from 1982. Yeah, it's just a great film. And I believe this was in 3D when it first came out, because when it originally came out, it was called Friday the 13th 3D. But the DVD that I have here is not in 3D. It's a 2D. But yeah, I do believe this was in 3D when it came out. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this may have been intended as the last film, because I think originally they wanted to have it as a trilogy or something. But of course that wasn't the case, because they just made more and more. And this, of course, is the introduces Jason's hockey mask. So this is the first time when he gets the hockey mask. He actually gets the hockey mask off of the character of Shelley, who's, I think he's a funny character. Like, he's a prankster. And he was trying to prank somebody by scaring somebody with wearing a hockey mask, and Jason killed Shelley, and that's how Jason got the hockey mask. So, important film there. And now we're into the top 5. Number 5 is Friday the 13th Part 2. This was released 1981, I do believe. Yeah, 1981. It's a fantastic film. It's the first film where Jason is the killer, but he doesn't have the hockey mask in this one. Instead, he has the sack over the potato sack over his head. But yeah, great movie. And I do believe that, because originally I'm not even sure if they intended on making a sequel to Friday the 13th. I think originally they wanted it to be a standalone film. But, I'm so glad that they decided to make a franchise. And I do think that this does top the original one just a bit. Not much, just a bit. And you get such likeable characters in it, like protagonists, Like in some slash films, you get some characters who can be annoying, but in Friday the 13th, I think a lot of the characters are actually likeable. Especially like the final girls. In this one, Part 2, you've got Ginny, who I think is a very likeable character. You've got Part 3, you've got Chris. I think she's also likeable. You've got Alice in the first film. So yeah, they always had likeable protagonists. That's another thing that's important about this franchise. So yeah, that's my number 5. Number 4, a lot of people don't like. Well, they didn't like this when it first came out, but it's Part 5, A New Beginning, released 1985. And yeah, this in this one, Jason is also not the killer. I think he appears in flashbacks, but other than that, he's pretty much absent from this film. This is the one with the Jason copycat killer. It's a character called Roy Burns, and he puts on the hockey mask, and he's the murderer in this film. So he's essentially the Jason copycat killer. I think that's why a lot of people didn't like this film when it came out, but I love it. I've got no problem with the fact that Jason's not the killer in this one. So yeah, I think people had the same opinion on this one as they did on Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, because that's the one that didn't have Michael Myers in it. Again, I do love that film as well. But yeah, I love this one. It's got Tommy Jarvis in it as well, who I think is probably my favourite protagonist from the Friday the 13th franchise. Such a fantastic character. He's such an iconic character as well, even though he only appeared in 3 films. Yeah, I wish that he'd appeared in more films, because the character is still alive. He lived, so... But then again, it's probably best that they don't bring him back, because I am actually worried that if they do bring him back if they ever make another sequel and they bring him back, I'm worried that they're going to kill him off. So it's probably best that they don't. But yeah, this is a really good film. It deserves more praise. Number 3 is The Final Chapter, released in 1984, and this was intended to be the final film, hence the title, but as we all know, that wasn't the case. and this is the Tommy Jarvis's first appearance. Although he's just a kid in this one. I think he's about 12, and yeah, he's played by Corey Feldman in this one. So yeah, such a great actor. So yeah, I do love this one. And the way that this film ends, because it actually does end where Tommy Jarvis actually does kill Jason. Because in the first few films, Jason is essentially, he is still human, but in the later films, he essentially does become basically a zombie. But this is the last time where he's actually human, so I think he does actually die in this one. But then, of course, when they made more sequels, they made Jason a supernatural being. But yeah, this is a great film. Now the top two. Number 2 is Part 6. Jason Lives. Came out in 1986. And yeah, this is where is the first appearance of what's known as zombie Jason. So yeah, his corpse is buried in a cemetery, but then he's brought back to life by a lightning strike. So it's a bit of a reference to Frankenstein, but I don't find it cheesy at all. I actually think it works. You've also got Tommy Jarvis in this one once again, and I love the soundtrack on there as well. There's Man Behind the Mask, the Alice Cooper song, and yeah, it's just a fantastic song. And yeah, this film, it does feel like a bit of a black comedy. There is some real genuinely funny moments in it as well, but normally that shouldn't work with a film like this, but in this film it does. It just works. Blending the serious horror and the dark, and then the light-hearted humour. It just works really well. That's probably why it's one of my favourites. I just love it. I have a lot of fun with this film. It is superb. Which leaves me with my number 1. Would you believe it? It's Part 7, The New Blood, released 1988. So yeah, this is my favourite Friday the 13th film. This is what some fans refer to as Jason versus Carrie. Because in this one, he basically he battles this girl who has the same powers as Carrie White, but in this film it's not Carrie White, it's Tina Shepherd who's the protagonist. And yeah, she's probably my I did say Tommy Jarvis was my favourite, but I think Tina Shepherd's probably my favourite protagonist. Although Tommy Jarvis is very close. I mean, we all love Tommy, don't we? But yeah, I've watched this tons of times, and I love it. And I also really like the character of Nick as well, he's the male lead in this film. He's Tina's boyfriend, and he's such a likeable character as well. And I'm so glad that he actually lived. Sometimes the final girls in the Friday the 13th film, sometimes their boyfriends end up dead at the end of the movies, but in this one, the boyfriend survived. So I'm glad that Nick survived. He's just such a likeable character. He's very sympathetic towards Tina, because when Tina was a child, she accidentally killed her father, but she didn't mean to. It was her mind control powers that did it. And yeah, she's been basically traumatized by that. And you also get the character of Dr. Cruz, he's definitely the secondary antagonist. He's like Tina's psychiatrist, but he doesn't really want to help her. He's just studying her because he's more interested in her powers than helping her. So yeah, he's a bit of an arsehole, but he gets what he deserves. He gets killed by Jason. Yeah, he gets killed by one of those I don't know what it's called. It's one of those power tools that has the spinning wheel blade on it. He gets killed with one of those. So yeah, this is a brilliant movie, and a bit underrated actually. I think don't think I've ever seen this one ranked this high, but yeah, this is my favourite. I just love it. So that is my ranking on the Friday the 13th, the franchise. Hope you enjoyed that. I know you're not all going to be. I know you're not going to be agreeing with this, but put your ranking in the comments. You know, I'd like to see how you would rank them. Yeah, I hope you have a happy Friday the 13th today. Just try not to be killed by Jason. Well, you want Jason's fictional, as we all know. I was just joking around. You probably know that I'm joking around, but I just wanted to explain that I was joking, just in case we get some snowflake in the comment section saying Jason's not real, he's fictional. Shut up. I'm joking, alright? So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you again soon. And once again, happy Friday the 13th. Bye.